All right. I don't know why there's a.
You all good?
I don't know. There was a weird. I had a weird echo going on there for a second.
Still have it going on?
There still is a weird echo. Derek, can you hear me here, or am I? You can. Hold on. I don't know. Okay, I think we're good. All right. Welcome to podcast. I don't know what just happened. I heard myself 50 times over, and I don't know what was going on. I can't even figure it out. And I just clicked out. I clicked one tab off, and it was gone. So that's
There you
great. We have a great guest on today, Coach Christian Runza. Fantastic football player himself at Old Japan High School. Went on and played at Monmouth. Coached at went and worked in Wall Street for a little bit, and then that was short lived, and decided he wanted to do something else and got into coaching. Got an opportunity at Towson State with a great coaching staff there, and then got a really, really interesting and exciting opportunity with the Michigan. Was it the Invaders? Is that it?
Michigan Panthers.
Panthers. Michigan Panthers of the UFL. Well, now it's combined UFL, USFL, right? Is it combined?
Yeah, so it was the USFL and XFL. We combined now 2 years ago, and this was year 2 of the UFL.
UFL, that's what I thought. Okay, perfect. Yep. Michigan Panthers was in the 80s. That team had Anthony Carter as a receiver.
Yep.
Back in the day. I'm trying to think of who the quarterback was, but it's a fantastic opportunity coaching pro football. Amazing story, I guess, maybe a little bit, but my head coach from college, Skip Holtz, is the Birmingham Stallions head coach. I don't know if you've met him before or not.
I have. He's a really, really good person. Great dude.
Yeah, really good guy, good coach, and really good coach.
Yeah.
But your career has really rocketed up, and we know each other. I forgot that we knew each other, but we know each other obviously through Coach Dunn. And he was working camps. He was helping out when he was first coming out of college, and then went on and he's doing great things, which shows you once you get focused and figure out what you want to do, there's really great opportunities now in the coaching profession. You just got to figure out what you know, where you fit, where the right opportunities are. And Christian's a good example of a really fast rising coach in the industry. He coached at Monmouth as well. And so we're really excited to have him on. Christian's great to have you on. As always, before I obviously I didn't introduce, but as always, my co-host, Coach D, Coach Depascale, who does a great job, not just interviewing, but getting the guests that we get every single week. So, Christian, it's great to have you on. Did I accurately kind of summarize the career?
Yeah, pretty much right there. But first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to have me. I'm excited to be here, talk some ball. But yeah, pretty much that's kind of my route. A little bit different than most. Started on Wall Street. Well, really my first coaching job was at Old Japan High School, helping out there in the summer. Right after I finished playing in 2018, 2018, I graduated from college and started coaching over at Old Japan for a little bit, and ended up getting a really good opportunity on Wall Street, which is what I thought I wanted to do. And did that for 9 months. Got all my certificates and studied for all those tests and passed them. And I was in it doing it, and I really just hated my life. So quit and took a volunteer job at Towson, where I started and kind of worked from there. And you know, some decisions here and there along the way have gotten me to this point. But you know, really fortunate. Got to get really lucky in this profession to kind of get anywhere. And been fortunate to be around the right people that have helped me out, you know, and I'm just trying to learn and grow as much as I can along the way, and see where the future holds. So, but again, man, I appreciate you guys that have me on. So,
no, it's great to talk to you. you've had you played for a guy that I deem as a mentor, as a coach, and I think maybe we'll kind of start there. You know, what was it like playing Old Japan? That was when you were there was
Mhm.
really the takeoff time. That was when, like, now they're in like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the mature, they're winning like they're winning championships, state group championships, are in a hunt for those every single year. But you guys really were a part of the group that like took it to a whole nother level. Talk about that, and
Yeah.
talk about what that coaching staff really helped you with.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Coach Dunn does an unbelievable job. I mean, all the coaches on staff do a really, really good job. And obviously, Coach Klaus is a great, great defensive coordinator, does a lot of really good things, really smart guy. And everybody else on staff there, that they all have the same vision, and that comes from Coach Dunn. The culture is set from day one. I mean, it is it is all business. And it's an intense environment that really gets the best out of their players. And it's something that helped me obviously tremendously, whether it's my coaching style, coaching with a ton of passion and energy, that comes from there. And it's the attention to detail that Coach Dunn and the rest of the staff coaches with every day. I mean, the amount of times we have to rerun plays in practice to get it done. I mean, it takes what it takes. They really exemplify that every day. When I got there, my freshman year was the first year that it kind of started the expectations started to rise, really, with Devin Fuller as our starting quarterback, who was the number one recruit in New Jersey. And he was a junior, but that whole senior class was just a ton of very, very good football players. I mean, there weren't many weak links on the team. And for me being a freshman to be able to, get moved up to varsity at the end of the year when our season ended and just be around him in practice really helped. To see what the expectations are and to try and live up to them as much as I can, and learn from a guy like Devin Fuller, who was, in my opinion, one of the best high school football players I've ever seen in my life in person. He was unbelievable, and we're undefeated, made it to state championship game that year, but kind of fell short on a kick return as time expired. And that was tough, but made it back the next year. And then my junior and senior year kind of didn't make any state championships, but made it to the semis and made it to the quarterfinals. So just continuing to build. And 2 years after I graduated, Coach Dunn finally got it done. Got a state championship with Devin's younger brother, Jordan, and another really good class. I mean, my senior year, those guys that were seniors on that state championship team, they were all starting for us as sophomores. And it's funny because one of my closest friends was a captain with me on the football team at Old Japan, and he's going to be the best man at my wedding in a year. His younger brother was a sophomore on that team and was a senior on the state championship game. And I was at their house for a barbecue on Saturday. We're still arguing about who has the better team. And the answer is them, because they were all starters on our team as sophomores, and then ended up to go on and win the whole thing. I can now say that as a coach's point of view, but as a player, I'd never admit that. But like I said, Coach Dunn has done a great job of building the culture there. I mean, he's a legend in the area. You don't win as many games as he does by doing it the wrong way. He does it the right way, and it's the old school way. You're going to do everything with extreme attention to detail. There's a lot of energy and focus involved in everything. And it takes what it takes. So again, there's a lot of things that I've learned from him and from the rest of his staff, and just about how to run a program and what the expectations are and making sure everybody lives up to them.
No doubt about it. That's I think that's one of the foundational things when you play for a coach that knows how to run a program, especially from the time you're in high school. You have that foundation of what good looks like, and now you're going forward. You have a good idea when you, as a coach, when you could recognize you're in a good situation or not a good situation, because you already kind of know what good looks like, right? Because you played in it, and Monmouth obviously as well. But Dunn, as far as like a backbone of what he does, and I always found that interesting because his you're right, his style, even though he runs an offense that is modern, like he was originally a wing T guy, and he probably begrudgingly evolved it, into the shotgun and started putting a lot of different passing concepts and adds all the different stuff into that and the RPOs now and all that kind of stuff. But like the foundation is in getting stuff done, work hard, doing it the right way. Like, what I used to like about when I coached with him, and obviously now, I still help them from time to time with breaking down film. Like everything is kind of consistent, meaning if you don't want to do the same play 5,000 times, do that play right one or two times. And the kids eventually they figure that out, right? He's going to move, like he's not there to torture you. He wants you to run that play the right way. And then we can move on. There used to be the same thing when you run that little hill over there against the school, right? Come to the top of the hill, right? Like you have to come to the top of the hill because you always know there's a couple of guys that you guys end up getting mad at because they cut it like a few feet short. For what? All you had to do is come to the top of the hill, and we're only doing X amount of these. But now we didn't come to the top. We're still doing those amount, but they have to be done right, right?
Exactly.
So, and I think that that's a really important thing that I think when players go and play for different people, it's like, hey, it's not about how long the practice. The practice is only going to be so long if you make it that long. It's the opportunity to get things done the right way, and making sure those reps count. And I think that Dunn does a great job of that and setting that foundation. Which I think why you have so many guys that not just are successful from that program, but like you guys still talk and get along. And when you guys when they won the not this one that they group championship, but the first one, I was there on the sideline, and when I came up the stairs from Rutgers after, a bunch of the guys from the team that I coached on, I was there 1 year, coached on, like they jumped me. They were all excited. They were as excited as if they had played. And I think that's a culture that's really, really cool. They probably also had a few pops and
a couple. I was there as well. So
yeah, I'm sure you were.
I could vouch for that. They had probably a couple before the game started.
That's great. That's great.
I'll tell you what's funny, Dave, is to add to this, like my first 2 years in coaching at Passaic Valley, like I was blessed with playing Devin and then his brother. Like in my first 2 years, that was a regular season matchup in terms of like, hey, this is a team and a structure that's in place, and this is like where we're trying to get to, right? So that foundation, and we'll talk to those guys, like they just do it their way, and now they're one of those teams that even when they might have a down year, it would be somebody else's program's like best year ever, right? Because the standard and the expectation is just set by that, right? So for you, like obviously that was your like starting point, right? So what did you take, or what was it that you saw in Coach Dunn and at that program that kind of had you like, this is what I want to do? What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the game of football that is different to anything else, and it's the ultimate team game. And there is not one person that's more important than the other. There's not one position group that's more important than the other. If one of the 11, if they don't do their job, the play could be a disaster, right? So it's with Ultapan, it's always about the team. It's not about how many. When I played quarterback, it was never about how many times can I throw the ball in a game. I knew if I threw the ball over 15 times in a game, we were losing. Like that's not what we did best, right? We were going to pound the rock and spread the ball around to different people, whether it was giving the ball to one of our 3 running backs, handing the ball off on jet sweeps, right? Doing some quarterback run game stuff, things like that. But no matter what, it was all about just winning the football game. It does not matter. It's all about just continuing to get better throughout the year and overcoming adversity. And that's something that Coach Dunn always tried to give us adversity in practices by having us run a play again, run it again, run it again. Now go do sprints. Now come back and run it again, right? Things like that try and get your mind accustomed to being mentally tough, because that's something that is a learned skill. you can start soft, mentally soft, but you can learn how to be tough. I truly think so. And that comes from discipline and putting yourself in really tough situations to be able to overcome it. And Coach Dunn did that with us all the time, and it feels so much better when you get that win after you've overcome that adversity. And that's kind of where you fall in love with the game, to me, is going through the tough things with your brothers, overcoming it, coming out on the winning side. And it just makes it feel so much better. You just have so much more gratitude that you went through it and came over the top. So now, I can get through anything. I can continue to push through anything. And like I said, and like Coach Dunn did it every day with us, the rest of the staff. I mean, there wasn't an easy day. There was never an easy day. They never took a day off. And I commend them for that. Because now that I'm on their side of it, I know there are days where you want to take a day off. It's tired. Just like the players, you're tired. It's hot. It's a long day, right? But if you take a second off, the players will double, right? So we they kind of taught me always be on my game, and like I said, it's paid off.
And playing quarterback, obviously, in that system, you have to be able to understand how to direct the team.
Mm-hmm.
You threw for a bunch of touchdowns in high school, and I remember that. It's that system is demanding on the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So I think becoming a coach out of that system, there's definitely that opportunity, and just like Cravani coaches at, I think, Johns Hopkins, right?
Yep.
So
yep. We were at Monmouth together 2 years ago.
Oh, you were? Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He was about. That's right. Yeah. And obviously Karate, if you wanted to go into business, he obviously could have easily gone into business. And I think that's something that you guys learned really well there. And it's really, really an interesting thing of what he instilled. Monmouth, talk. So you went, you played at Monmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Then you jumped into coaching at Towson State. So talk about, once you first really arrived at coaching in Towson State, what that was like now moving into coaching in college, not just being a player in college, but becoming a coach in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was really, really lucky to get that opportunity. I emailed, so when I was on Wall Street, I kind of made that decision, and that I wanted to leave, and I started reaching out to my contacts that I knew, just basically all my former coaches, and see who they could reach out to, ask for any advice, get on the phone with different people. I emailed probably 150 different schools to try and see if they had anything, volunteer, whatever it took. And not many got back to me. So my offensive coordinator from college, he's now the offensive coordinator. He was a tight ends coach when I was at Monmouth. Jeff Gallo, he reached out to someone on the Towson staff, and he had a connection because he used to work at Monmouth, and they were looking for a defensive quality control coach that could come in as ASAP, and they were pretty desperate. So they took me because I had zero experience. I came in, and the defensive coordinator that I worked for, Eric Daniels over at Towson, him and he's like one of my biggest mentors right now. And we're very, very close now, but he tells me all the time after the first week of training camp, he wanted to fire me because I was in over my head. You think you know football until you get into coaching. And I tell my friends that all the time that never coach, they just play and they think they know all this. We knew nothing as players. I mean, I thought I was a pretty high football IQ level player. And I got into the room in my first defensive staff meeting. They were talking about cover 4 for 5 hours straight, and I could not fathom how that's possible. You know? But now if you want to talk cover 4, we can sit here till 2:00 in the morning and I'll do it with you all day. Cause there's all these intricacies to it. And I love it. Scheme is what I'm now like. I love the scheme game. I love the chess match. Like that's really where I really fell in love with the coaching aspect of it. Obviously I love helping helping players achieve their goals and trying to change people's lives and the camaraderie of everything. But it's the chess match because that's kind of how we get to say we had an impact in the game too. You know what I mean? But I got to Towson. Again, took a volunteer job where I didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew I was willing to stay there all night and sleep there all night and not leave the office to get what needed to be done. I had no experience with film. We use DV Sport. No experience with DV Sport. No experience with Vizio to do the playbook stuff. No experience with anything in coaching. I just knew that I was hungry and I really wanted it bad. And that's what it took. I mean, I slept in the office 2 to 3 nights a week. I mean, it's 18, 19-hour days as a QC over at for how we were doing things. And I loved it because it taught me how to be a better coach. And it's a lot of figure it out on your own. You're going to mess up a bunch of times, but the biggest thing is that I showed our coordinators and head coach that I cared. That was really the biggest thing, because they knew that they could work with you as long as you really, really care and you're hardworking and willing to put those hours in. And eventually, I did it for 2.5 years. I volunteered at Towson. A couple, COVID hit after my first year. Yeah, crazy. I mean, so COVID hit after my first year, which kind of helped because I was able to just come home and save some money and be with my parents, and work online, which we did for 6 months. And then with COVID happening, everyone stopped hiring, just because, finances are tight and everything so it was tough. I basically decided to stay there. I had a couple job offers for Division II, Division III jobs. But when I got in to the spring of right before COVID hit, our defensive coordinator said to me, "Hey, I'm going to let you run the linebacker room. This is your chance to get experience running a room in the spring." Obviously, he was going to sit in the back and kind of just let me run the meetings. But after a couple weeks of that, and then after obviously going through the fall and the spring of not playing because of COVID, he told me just, "Hey, man, if something opens up, I'm going to do whatever I can to bump you up to position coach." So I decided to stay there. And then eventually in 2021, in June of 2021, I got the bump to linebackers coach when our defensive line coach left, taking another opportunity, moved some pieces around. I got to coach the linebackers there for 2 years. And it was an unbelievable experience. I'm extremely grateful to our head coach, Rob Ambrose, who I'm still very close with to this day. And then our defensive coordinator, Eric Daniels, as well, for sticking his neck out for me, because, those two guys, I mean, I was 24 years old when I got hired as a linebackers coach there. I mean, that's unheard of, especially with no experience of coaching, recruiting anywhere. So those two really took a chance on me, and I'm forever in debt to those two to kind of getting me started in my career. And then it's kind of just been rolling ever since, man. So, but it's definitely the right profession for me. That's for sure. After being on Wall Street and then now doing this stuff, it's definitely a really, really good job. I love it. I love every second of it. So.
Derek, I saw the baby in the back corner over there for a brief second.
Yeah, she's probably sneaking it. Should probably just get it home.
Get home.
Coach, that's incredible. What years were you at Towson? Because obviously we have some familiarity with some people
Rob
that were
on,
there.
right? Did we have Rob on?
We had Rob on.
Nice.
Scott Van Zyl was down there for a couple of years. Was he on the?
That's how Scott Van Zyl was how I got the job. That's how I got.
Because he was Monmouth, right?
Like this is. Right, yeah, because this is where the whole small world thing works. Is Scott is a Butler alum where I'm from, so that's how I developed a relationship with him. He recruited me when I was coming out of school, and then obviously, like when he started making that move, he was the Towson guy. He went there, right? So, and then was the Monmouth guy forever. Made the move to Elon, didn't really work out. Back to Townsend, right? So it's just so wild how the coaching world is literally networking, who what it is. And for you, obviously, and I wrote it down, 150 schools that you reached out to, and not many people got back to you, right? So that's what shows you, the name of this game is, look, get an opportunity, do your job, be willing to do everything, and just keep your head down and keep working. And eventually you'll earn, kind of thing. And in terms of you, hey, this is the spring, you run the room, let's see what it is. But you're talking 2.5 years of volunteer. That's tough, right?
Yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah. It was not easy. I mean, getting out of the office, going and DoorDash until 10 o'clock was kind of the routine, and trying to make, find a way to make ends meet. I was really fortunate where, my parents were able to help me out, and I know a lot of people can't say that. So obviously everything goes to I'm extremely grateful for my parents. I mean, for even allowing me to continue this dream that I had.
Right.
Obviously now it's paying off, but for there were about 3 years there where there was a lot of question marks, right?
And I'm sure you were constantly getting the, hey, what are we doing?
100%, right?
You were
100%.
on Wall Street, like you had this constant check coming in, whatever. Look, I did the same thing, dude. Like I went into pharmaceuticals as soon as I got out, and it was like I was miserable, like absolutely miserable.
For sure.
And then former coach calls me, hey, I have a job at Passaic Valley. You want to come in? You know, yada. I'm like, absolutely, would love to do it. I don't care what it is. Hey, also, like, this is what you're getting paid. I'm like, wait, what? I get paid? Like, I was just willing to go and do whatever, and that's just a high school gig. So for you, like, you know, but look, it is tough when everybody around you is why are you crazy? Like, why are you doing this? Like, for what? And you constantly have to kind of look, this is what I want to do. Like, a number value is not any reason to do this. You know what I mean? What made you fall in love with the chess match part of it? Because I think that's like, you know, the X's and O's of like scheme this, scheme that. And like you said, all your friends, all those guys that, you know, think they know football, right? Because we all know the best coaches like sit in the stands on Friday night. Like when you throw it, they say run it. When you say blitz, you know, they're like, why are we doing that? Right. So how did you kind of fall in love with that part of the game itself?
Well, for me, I'm a numbers guy, right? I'm a math guy. I like when pieces all come together to form a puzzle, right? And you know, I like math because it's definite, right? 1 + 1 always equals 2. You know, things like that. There's an answer. And in football, sometimes there aren't really good answers, and you have to solve the puzzle. And I just there's always good strategy talk. There's a million ways to skin a cat, is what they always say, right? There's a ton of different ways to play every coverage and every offensively, every different type, you know, do versus inside zone. Why is it better, right? You know, things like that. When which type of RPOs to tag with which runs and why out of which formations and motions and shifts and all these variables that all come together to form one puzzle. The chess match between, you know, our staff versus the offensive staff, for example, is always fun to kind of see how we view each other and where our weaknesses are, to kind of grow and build off of that throughout the season. And like I said, I've always been a math guy, and to me, this is just numbers. Football is a numbers game. That's all it is, right? It run fits, or it's a numbers game. If you don't have numbers, your guys better just be better than the other team, or else you're in trouble. Right. And if it's an even match,
there's the line, Dave, the ultimate line, Dave, right? Like we say it all the time, like, hey, we could do all this stuff, but if your Jimmys are better than the Joes, dude, like it don't matter. I love it. Even at the level you're at, that's what it comes down to.
Like even our head coach, Mike Nolan, in the NFL for 40 years, he tells me all the time, he's like, one of the main reasons I got the 49ers head job is because I was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens with Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, and Terrell Suggs, like that. And that got him an NFL head job for 5 years. You know,
not bad to have those guys rolling out there, dude. Like, what are we talking about?
That's what it is. Like even in our league, I mean, we don't do a ton of exotic things. I mean, some teams do. Like the DC Defenders, St. Louis Battlehawks. Watch those defenses. That's some exotic stuff they're doing. I mean, they're running every different type of pressure, stunt, overload, fire zone, simulated pressure, dropping things, inverted cover 2 on base downs into the field, like crazy stuff to mess with the quarterback's eyes, which is great. I think it's awesome. I love learning about that stuff.
Yeah, of course. That's so cool.
We were like, we're going to play cover 3, cover 4, and cover 2 all game, and we're going to kick your ass. Like that's what we were always about. Because we feel that up front, our front 7 is the best in the league, especially against the run. And our DBs got to earn their paycheck. Like that's kind of how it is for us. You know, that's just how our philosophy was. At Towson, we were a quarters team. You know, we're going to run quarters. Stop it. Like that's now obviously that gets you beat. Like that can get you beat. You know, for sure. But to us, we want our players to play as fast as possible, and that's being simple and doing stuff that we're really good at. You don't want to get too confusing for them and make them play slow, because that's when you really get beat. You know, but yeah, that's kind of our philosophy. It's just, hey man, let's line up and play and do what we do best.
It's cool. Now, do you think that's by choice right now? my question is, those guys that are doing all the exotic stuff, is that just kind of what they do, or are those guys doing that to kind of make a name for themselves in order to go, make that jump? Like, hey, I can do all of this with this and go from, you know what I mean?
Some people do it because that's what they do. Like, for example, the DC Defenders, their defensive coordinator is Greg Williams.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Like, come on,
Greg Williams, right? So, and then when he left to take the Tennessee State job with the head coach that left, Reggie Barlow, they both went to Tennessee State in mid-season this year.
Right.
Coach Williams' son, Blake Williams, took over. So, I mean, it's going to be the same deal, right? Now, it was actually a little less crazy than when Greg Williams was in DC, but they still had a lot of, obviously the same stuff, same calls, just when he's going to call, it's a little different. And then with St. Louis, they had really a lot of talent. They had really good linebacking core, really good D-line. And I'm not too familiar with their defensive coordinator, but it's kind of just what he does. I just like to take chances, like, and a lot of times it works, man. It's a gamble, it's a gamble. A lot of times it works. A lot of times it creates some opportunities for the offense. So, for us, it's more of, we need to pick and choose our times we want to gamble. When is it a good percentage to gamble? Right? To us, we're not going to take many gambles on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 8. We'll take our gamble on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, right? We'll take our gamble on 3rd and 4. We might gamble here and there on 3rd and 12 plus, but once you get 3rd and 15, we're going to drop 8. You're not getting to the sticks. Like, that's kind of our thought process in a lot of things. And obviously it varies for everybody, I haven't had the opportunity to call it yet, so I don't know exactly what my
that's kind of what I was gonna go there. What do you think? Because you've been in, like you said, Townsend, you've been a couple systems now.
Yeah.
You got your binder ready, like you good to go, like where you're gonna be at, right?
Obviously, I have some bullets in the chamber ready to go, but I mean, it's not something that I'm overly concerned about right now. I kind of
where your feet are.
I'm being where my feet are. I'm living in the moment. There are always things that you agree with, that you don't agree with, that you do when you coach, when you go through it.
Part of being an assistant, man. It's one of the hardest things about being an assistant.
Exactly. And the only thing you can do is just give your input. And if it gets shut down, it gets shut down. I mean, that's
fine.
all it is.
You can't be hurt about it, right? Like, it's not personal. It's not personal. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. It's just, look, and I've been an assistant forever. It's just what I do. I don't want more keys in my pocket. I don't need to talk to parents that much more, dude. Like, that's the head coach. We're good. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, the biggest part of being an assistant is you bring solutions, not problems. Right? And especially at the high school level, like where I'm at, it's a lot of like, know who those kids are, know a little bit more than the head coach, because they're going to open up to you if you're doing your job.
Exactly.
Right. And the schematic part of it, it's just at the high school level, it's there and you want to do it, but it's more about like who they are as a person and maturing and growing and doing all those kind of things where, for you, it's more, hey, how do I play this? Or it's technique wise, or it's the little intricacies at your level, I would say are the more important part of it, right? Because you're dealing with grown ass men. Like, right? Like, this is a business. Those guys are like, look, what can you do to help me get to where I want to go? Right? Am I right in that?
That's all that matters. Right. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like, for me, it was a really hard transition because I was 26 when I got in to the USFL. Half the guys I was coaching were older than me. I also never played anywhere close to the NFL, right? So I haven't been where they want to go, nor do I really know what it takes to get there, because I've never been around. I've played with a couple guys that had a cup of coffee in the NFL, but not where they're how they're trying to get there, right? Obviously. So for me, it was about, how do I build the relationship with them so they trust me and they play harder for me. And the way I did it was it was a collaborative effort. It's different. I would never do this in college. I would not do this the way I did it in college, because in college there's a little bit more sternness. There's a little bit more you got to be on them about, right? These are grown men, right? If they want to go out all night, they go out all night, as long as it doesn't affect their job. I don't care. As long as you perform on Saturdays, Sundays, whenever we're playing, I do not care
Right.
what you do. Until it obviously, takes a toll on your body or whatever, right? I'm going to do everything I can to give you the tools and provide you with the knowledge that I have to help you, right? But I can't be there to babysit you. In college, you got to be a little bit more of a babysitter at times, because now we can't just cut you. You know what I mean? Your scholarship's there. You got to make sure you fulfill your duties. But in the pros, we can just cut you if you're not doing it the right way. But for me, it was more like, hey, throughout the week, right? Like, for example, I had this when I first got there. I had a pretty big argument with the guys about the read steps we take. For Coach Nolan wanted our head coach is defensive guy. He wanted a certain certain read steps. I just always knew what I knew from what I did at Towson. I was comfortable with, and the players had something else. So I said, all right, during training camp, today we're going to try out my way. Tomorrow we're going to try out Coach Nolan's way. The next day we're going to try out your way. And whatever you guys feel the most comfortable with and whatever we agree with, what's we'll do. Easy stuff like that, right? I'm not too much of a stickler on a ton of things unless Coach Nolan is a stickler on something, right? Then I will be a stickler on that, right? For example, our alignments. If we tell you you're in a 10, you're in a freaking 10. That's it, right? If we tell you you're in a 20, you're in a 20.
About a 10.
And if you're not in that 20, you better have a dang good reason why you're not in that 20. Right now, if you say, hey, I'm supposed to be apex, my 2's extended, I got to cheat from a 20 to an apex. Great answer, right? But if you tell me, oh, my 2's in the core and I'm cheating out to a 40, why? 2 is in the core. Like things like that, right? You better have the right answer, because I do give the players leeway because I'm their age. Like, again, I'm their age. But it's collaborative, and there's got to always be time where you snap back in like, no, this is how we're doing it. That's it.
Right.
But there's a good give and take there, because you also want to give the players, a little bit of ownership, right? This is also their room. This is their team as well. It's not always me, or us from a coaching staff standpoint. It has to come from them as well. And that's how you build a good culture of guys that buy in, because they're going to play harder for something that they came up with. Right? If they come up with a call, like at our level, these guys come in with third down pressures every week that they want to run.
Right.
Every week.
Of course.
It's consistent. Or that come in for us, Tuesday or Wednesday morning practice, our first practice of the week. Hey, why are we running this and not this? Why aren't we running this? I already watched film. Right. I think this would work. All right, well, let's see if that would fit in the game plan. Right. It's really
they have input,
because they're smart, man. Like, they are real deal. They've been around a lot of football and a lot of systems with a lot of successful coaches. And to me, I think we'd be idiotic not to listen to some suggestions, because I don't know everything. I know that. If you think you know everything, you're already lost. You're not going to grow anymore, right? So to me, especially being a younger guy, I want to learn as much ball as I can. I want to learn a bunch of different philosophies of how to play things as I can, because then I get to pick and choose when it is my turn to call it, when it is my turn to run the show. So you have to really treat it differently than you do at the high school or college level, because these are real grown-ass men now, and they will tell you that right away. A lot of times
are they impatient too, because of the do you ever find that they're some of the players that you're coaching are impatient with the process because of the fact that they feel like they should get the opportunity at the next level, or once were at the next level?
Yeah, a lot of guys
impatient with the process. Like, how do you advise them on that? Because I feel like that at the UFL, with the hardest thing is that they're playing for you guys now, but they're obviously their goal is always to get back to the NFL. Or something along the line.
At the end of the day, it's all about God's timing. That's kind of how I always try to frame it. Like, you're going through this right now. You're here right now for a greater purpose. Now go take advantage of being here right now. Because at the end of the day, none of those players really want to be with us.
Right.
I wouldn't want somebody that just wants to be in the UFL. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even though it's a great league, I'm so happy to be there. It's unbelievably good competition. I mean, it's as close to the NFL as you could possibly get.
Right.
However, our best guy is the 53rd man on the roster at best in the NFL. Like, that's how good the NFL
it's crazy
is.
To think about
it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's how good the league is. But for guys that have, especially the guys that have been there, it's just about taking it day by day and getting better, because you're obviously here for a reason. Now we have to identify what that reason is. If you're already talented enough, there has to be some sort of mental thing going on mentally that you have to get over, whether it's how you take coaching or what your football IQ is, right? Something like that. Then let's talk about that. Let's work on that this year, right? It's about sitting them down one-on-one and figuring out what their weakness is and why they're not at where they want to be. Because they're obviously good enough to get there if they were there a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever the case is. It's just about getting them back to that level and hopefully getting them to stick. And it's really, I mean, because once you get to training camp, it's all we can do, brother. We got you to training camp. That's our goal. That's as much as we can do. You know, last year we led the UFL in NFL signees going into training camp after our season, which was awesome. So it's a great recruiting pitch to sign guys that just get cut. You know, like mid-season this year, we signed 4 or 5 guys, or at least 3 or 4 guys that had, 4 or 5 years of NFL experience mid-season because they got released around draft time, come to us, and they were great players for us, and a lot about this league is it's more fun. It's not all about money. It's about the love of it. It really is about the love of the game.
Right.
Because we don't have the glamorous facilities and
bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff.
75,000 people every week, we get to play on national television, which is great. You get to play the game you love, which is great. We have really good facilities. Don't get me wrong. It's gotten so much better throughout the 3 years I've been there. Every year it's gotten better and better. And a lot of accessories for the players for training and rehab and everything. We have more than enough. But it's about loving football. And a lot of guys find when they come to our league, they fall in love with the game again. Because when you're in the NFL, it's such a business. It's so cutthroat. You're always on edge about, am I getting cut? Am I doing enough? And then you get to come to us and a little bit more freedom to be able to be yourself, bring out your personality, and play with your new teammates and put some good stuff on film. And a bunch of guys that recently came, they just said, man, I've had so much fun this year because I felt like I fell in love with the game again. And as a coach, you love hearing that, and that's also a credit to Coach Nolan for setting the culture of our team to be that inviting and to allow the players to be themselves and do what they need to do to be successful. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a great league. It really is a league of opportunity. We're signing guys left and right to the NFL as we speak. And hopefully, more keep coming. So,
yeah, it's kind of how it is now anyway, right? In college. So college guys,
same thing.
They just turn over too rosters. And you have to be able to coach a new room possibly every year. So which is really
right now every semester.
Right.
Yeah, that's and then UFL, that's obviously going to be a thing, obviously every year. Talk about. So you have guys that, and you talked about it a little bit before, but I want to kind of dive into it. So you have guys that come in with different ways of playing linebacker, and a lot of times, you're probably going to have them maybe for a season. 2 would be a luxury in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you have to get accomplished from them in order to be able to get them into the system to play the way that you need them to? Because I think that's a really good skill set that you probably have developed, because it's tough when you have some new room guys every single year.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's at the end of the day, the number one thing, you got to understand what we're doing. Right. And it's not a very difficult playbook. However, it's just communication. I mean, we don't run anything that any of the guys we get, they've all run some sort of version of it, variation of it before. Right. It's just about the communication. Can you communicate fast? Can you fly around? Can you make the checks? Right. Can you get set and get aligned? That's Coach Nolan's a big stickler on alignments, like we just talked about.
Right.
And then, communicating when you're out in the field. And then can you play fast? I mean, because it's all training camp is only 2.5 weeks. So I don't have a ton of time. I've made mistakes before of keeping guys or releasing guys that probably shouldn't have. Maybe someone was better than them, but you go off what you have in 2.5 weeks. And it's a lot of extra work with especially the new guys. I mean, I've been fortunate in my room. I've had the same 2 starting linebackers for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Now they both
That's
go
crazy.
to the NFL, got released, and then came back to us.
Back, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been good because I can lean on those guys as well. Like, the starting Mike linebacker we have is knowledge wise is the best I've ever been around. He's like another coach in the room, which really obviously helps me a lot. And picking stuff up and help coaching the guys on the side if we're in the middle of a team period, something like that. But it's not an easy thing to do, to come in 2 weeks be ready to go play a game. 2.5 weeks be ready to go play in a game with about 8 to 10 installs, and then your game plan install once we get to the week of the game. But these guys are professionals. I mean, and you see it every day. I mean, the amount of attention to detail and focus that these guys have it's pretty impressive, especially like when we got into the playoffs this year, going against your old coach Skip Holtz. Like, that week of preparation I've never seen from a team in my life. The amount of focus and attention to detail we had in meetings on the practice field, it was like real deal NFL playoff week. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I really couldn't believe it. It was awesome to be around. And obviously season didn't end the way we wanted to, but there were so many things to build on. The attention to detail from these guys it's different. It really is. So I can only imagine what it's like at the next level. But for me, the biggest thing we look at when it comes to linebackers, especially in training camp, we want guys that play fast. Like, we want speed. Our head coach will not sign anybody that's over a 4.7. It's the offenses are evolving nowadays, where it's a spread type of game. We barely see anything over 12 personnel. If we do, it's on the goal line or short yardage, and we'll bring in an extra dang D lineman if we have to, right? But we want guys that can run and cover and hit. And it's hard to work certain techniques because, again, they're pros and we don't hit in practice. We didn't ever tackle one single time until the first game of the year, all 3 years this year. We don't go to the ground once. If you go to the ground, your ass is coming out. You're not allowed to go to the ground, right? You have to practice the right way, and the biggest way is to keep you fresh and healthy. Because if your best players go down and get hurt, it don't matter how much work you did in the offseason for scheme and coaching and all that. You're screwed, brother. Your best couple guys go down, you're in trouble. So that's the tough
practice part. Like time.
What's that? How does that work?
Yeah, so we won't practice for more than 2 hours ever. The most practice we'll have is like an hour 45, hour 55. It's broken up, so we only get 10 minutes of Indy every day. Start with a special teams walkthrough. Then we always, every single day is a turnover day. Every day we do turnover circuit with the offense. So they work ball security, we work ball disruption every day. Whether it's a 3 drill circuit or 2 drill circuit or whatever, but all coaches are involved. It's a high energy, get the practice going it's all about the ball. That's the biggest thing we talk about with our defensive guys. Everything is about the ball. The only way you get into the Hall of Fame or the only way you get Defensive Player of the Year is by getting the ball. It ain't about sacks. It ain't about tackles. It's about getting turnovers. That's an extra possession for your offense, right? There's a stat that we have in the front of the playbook. +1 in the turnover ratio is you win 65% of the games. +2 in the turnover ratio is 72%, and +3 in the turnover ratio is 80% of games. So it's all about turnovers. We tell our guys, every time you tackle with the intent to get the football. That is it.
I love that.
We don't. I mean, if we would rather you miss 20% more tackles and we get 20% more turnovers all day long,
right?
Because when you play hard and you run to the football like we preach every single day, we chase our guys to the football at the pro level. During team periods, all position coaches are chasing their guys to run to the ball, and we will point it out after every play on film. But so if you miss a tackle, it's fine because we're running the ball. You're going to get it down, right? Things like that. But yeah, so we start with turnover, and then we go stretch.
Hold on, I just want to ask one quick question about that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's, by the way, that's a really, really interesting difference at the higher levels, the highest level, versus even college and even in high school. But what you notice even at the college and high school level, that the teams that get the ball are the teams that win. But it's not as, I mean, I'm sure it's depending on school and program, it's mentioned more or less, in college, but in high school, there's some people that emphasize it more and less. But the bottom line is the person that gets the ball more is going to have the better chance to win at all of those levels. It's a hard thing and that's why you got to learn from the pros a lot of times. And I think it's important for coaches at lower levels to learn from the pros. And even though they always say, "Oh, it doesn't apply to my level," but it really does.
Bullshit.
If I know, I'm just saying, you know, Derek, you hear guys that say that, right?
I get it, and it gets me so fired up too, because it's
right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's
turnovers,
right? Like, it's just whatever. It's like, dude, and I've been I love that you gave those specific percentages. Not to cut you off, Dave, because look, how many times do I always, as a special teams coordinator, it's like, dude, if we get the ball this many times, or we have this many, like, it's a numbers game, dude.
It is. It's a math.
The more we take it away, the more opportunities we have, the better it is. And like, these guys want to roll out specials on Thursday night and say, well, let's just make sure we're doing okay. Like, no, dude, let's block a punt. Let's get the offense the ball. Right. 100%. And I think it's interesting, Dave, like what you're talking about, where at the highest level, the emphasis is on, like, we'll make the tackle, but we have to the next piece of it, right? Like, somebody wrap them up, next guy into the pile, like, you're going at the ball. Like, that's what it is.
Deion Sanders didn't get paid. Deion Sanders didn't get paid to make tackles, even though obviously you'd hear the pundits in the media be like, "Oh, he can't tackle." Like, Deion Sanders could tackle well enough, but the key was that he was going to get 6-7
interceptions.
Two of them were going to the house in a season. You know,
and he was going to return a couple punts for a touchdown as well.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm sorry, Coach. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying, but I wanted to bring that up because that's an important thing for any high school coaches to listen and understand. Like, that's or college coaches, because we have a lot of college coaches now that watch us. It's getting the ball is an important thing. Like, just getting them down means they have another opportunity. Getting the ball means now you have the opportunity on offense. So, and I remember playing defense, and my favorite thing is we get a turnover. We'd be like, all right, cool. We can go get a couple of Gatorades.
Right. Like, hey, we did our job. Like, I'll go stand on the bench.
We're already on the field for 2 more play. All right, let's go get some Gatorades.
Yeah. And then before you know it, once I got the Gatorade, it was like, hey, punt ready. You're like, Jesus, can we get a first down? Shit, here we go, dude. You're like, oh my God, dude. Like, here we go. Because now not only do I have to do that, now I got to go play wing on punt, right? Like, here we go. Like, okay, so now I got that. Let me chase this guy down, turn around. All right, now we're back on the field and we're playing, Like, I love that, though. That's where you create. What I do like, Coach, what you said about your turnover circuit is that your defense is working taking the ball away, right? And then the offense is working ball security, which,
100%.
Look, obviously at the high school level, like, it's different. Like, that's different, right? You got those guys, these guys, right? So after you do that kind of aspect of it, like, where do you guys go from there? Now, do you hop into like a team period or a blitz period?
Then it goes to stretch. So yeah,
all of that happens before they even stretch.
Well, it's even longer than that, because we normally have like a 20-minute offense or defense walkthrough on the field,
right?
To go over the
walkthrough. Like, this is what it is.
We're all out there just walking through, like, where the scout cards or whatever for the day, and then we go to special teams walkthrough, which is normally punt protection. Every day we work in punt pro. Every single day we work punt pro. That is the most important special team by far. You get a punt block, you lose. Like, that's
no shit. You ain't gotta tell me, dude. Like, it's why I'm trying to bring pressure every time. Love it.
You would love Coach Nolan. I mean, like, my first day on the job in Michigan in 2023, we were going over what type of punt protection we want to use, whether it's inside foot up or outside foot up punt protection with our special teams coordinator. And we sat in Coach Nolan's, our special teams coordinator and Coach Nolan sat in his hotel room until 10 o'clock. And he was literally sweating from doing all the kick slides in his hotel room, demonstrating which way is better and which way feels more comfortable doing it. So he is like all about teams, like, because that's how we got to start in the NFL. Started as a special teams guy. His first coordinator job was as a coordinator for the Broncos. So he's all about it. But
I love that. That's
we obviously, like, pretty much every team at this level does. You work 2 special teams a day, whether it's 2 special teams periods and then we also have a walkthrough for special teams before the practice starts. So then ball security, ball disruption, get to get to stretch, go from stretch to indie, only a 10-minute indie period. Then we might have a 10-minute group period, which could be for offenses normally routes on air. Defensively, we'll draw cards and run routes to different coverages for our guys. Maybe it's a motion period. Maybe it's a turnover circuit or a tackling circuit type of thing for 10 minutes. Then we get into our first team period, which is a good on good period. So offense versus defense. Let's just say this is in season, right? So it's offense versus defense, their good stuff versus our good stuff, ones versus ones, twos versus twos for 12 plays or 15 plays.
Total?
Yeah.
That's like with ones and twos
plays. Yeah, it's about rotations of 3 or 4 or 5, however you position coach wants to work it. But it's not like strictly ones versus ones or ones versus twos.
Right. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, just get your good reps, like our offensive game plan stuff in and our defensive game plan stuff in to get against each other, because we like seeing the unscouted looks, like stuff that we have in that the other offense might not run. And, if they run this, then this is how we got to play it, or whatever the case may be, right? They might find a hole in our coverage without us even knowing it, without them even knowing it, So the unscouted looks really do help us out a lot in game plan throughout the week. Awesome. And then from there, then we go to a break period. So after every team period, there's a 2-minute break. And then break goes right to special teams. And the break is really more just to set the special teams period up. And it's just 2 minutes. Get water, special teams period gets set up, go to a special teams, whatever that special teams drill is. So that's a 5-minute period. Then we go to another 15-minute team period where it's now scout cards, right? So we just service each other. At our level, we only have 50 guys on the roster. So we service each other. Give each other looks, whether it's normally anywhere from 6 to 12 plays each in a period. Then we go to a special teams, then there's a break. So after every team period, there's a break, then a special teams, then a team, then a break, then a special teams, then a team. It's structured the same way every single day. Now the period and the emphasis of each period will change, but it's so the players always know the routine. Right, they always know. We just finished team period. All right, we're going right to a break. Break ends, we're going right to special teams. Special teams ends, we're going right to team. Right, so the players are also in the flow of practice, running where they need to go, knowing where they need to go, and you're not just changing something up on them on a fly. And if we ever do, we go over it in the team meeting beforehand and make sure we're prepared for practice. Right, we only have a certain amount of hours out there. We have to be crisp, and if we don't finish practice early, Coach Nolan thinks we did not have a good practice. That's like the number one gauge. If we had good tempo in practice, did we finish practice on time or early? If we finished early, that means we didn't have a lot of redos. We didn't have a lot of, moseying around in between periods, right? We got our work done efficiently today. But if it's a little bit later, then he'll talk to the team about that, whether it's a staff reason or a player's reason, whatever the case is, right? We want to make sure we're doing stuff efficiently, because we don't want them to stay any later than they have to be there, because they don't want to be there any later than they have to be there. Right. We Coach Nolan found a way to make our player schedule 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You were there from 8 to 4. That's it. Some teams are in there from 9 to 7 at night because they get off the practice field, then they wait, then they meet, and they're late. We're in and out. We don't want our players. We want our players to be able to now go get your treatment that you're paying for on the side. Right. Yep. Things like that. Go hit the gym, go hit the sauna, go hit the ice tub, right? Go do that stuff in your own time. We're getting our stuff done fast, which is also nice as a coach, because now once 4 o'clock leaves, now we can get our real work done for the rest of the day and for tomorrow, so we're not in there till 12 o'clock every night. Right. Which, it's great. But yeah, the schedules, I feel like we probably have one of the better schedules in the league, just from how talking to other coaches, talking to other players.
Why do you think?
Yeah, just like Coach Nolan doesn't want wasted time. Like,
right.
And if something happens where we had to bump something up, we'll bump everything else up and get you out of here early. Like things like that,
By far, my favorite coaches to work with are guys that do not like to waste time, want to be efficient. And I always feel like that's also a respect on everybody else's time too.
100%.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to be here just to be here. Now, listen, if there are guys that want to hang out and that's what they want to do.
Right. That's fine. Do your thing.
Yeah. but you want to do extra work on your own, absolutely. And there are, I'm sure, plenty of guys that do that. But as far as what's necessary within the staff and what has to get done, like efficiency is a key component. And it's funny because I do a podcast with a guy who played with me, that didn't play with me, played after me at UConn. And he played in the what was NFL Europe, I guess it used to be called. So NFL Europe, he played in NFL Europe, played in the league for a little bit too. And it was interesting because he coached in college for like 10 years. And he happened to be in a situation at one of his stops at Holy Cross. He talks about it adamantly on our the guy he worked for had zero respect for the coach's time. And he was a very well-known coach, and he had zero respect for the coach's time, and basically would tell him, like, if you're not here till 10 o'clock, you're on track to get fired, right? And ultimately it led to a lot of coaches burning out and their team underperforming. So because if I always think about it like this, and this is hard for some coaches from the past because they were also trained in this methodology of staying there forever. But so it's hard for some guys to get out of that. But the bottom line is, if you're a little bit fresher, you're going to coach better. You're going to pick up things. You're going to see things. If you're well rested, okay, and I don't mean well rested where you need 12 hours of sleep. I'm saying well rested where you're cognitively able to function at an optimal level, because ultimately as a coach, it's a mind game, right? For them, it's not just maybe the 60s and 70s because you ran only certain things and you ran one system, and motivation probably was a larger part of it because you ran more simple. But now systems, you don't know what you're going to see each week, right? And so you want guys that are sharp and able to adapt very quickly as coaches and see things.
For sure.
And I'm a firm believer that it's hard to see things well if you're exceptionally tired, and I think that's one of the things. I think that over time, as one day when you become old, I think that's going to continue to rapidly change. And I think it's two sides pushing that. The NFL obviously is very efficient. So is your level. Those guys have to become more and more efficient, right? It's not that they don't work hard, but they have to become more and more efficient because they got to respect the players' time. You want them to do what they need to do, and that kind of partially drives it. And then high school coaches and their innovations to the game, which a lot of high school coaches have really done a great job of, a lot of places around the country, innovating their style of practice, innovating in how they're doing it, innovating what they're doing with coaches, and technology, obviously, with Huddle in high school and then in college, Exos or DV Sport, whatever system they're using, right? So being able to be more efficient on that, I think, is really, really it's one of those things, because obviously, you talked about when you first got the job at Towson, you're there all day long, and that's part of like paying your dues. But once you've paid some of those dues, once you're in a job where you actually really have to do a lot of thinking and figuring out on the fly, not just what you're prepared for, I think that really has become a more and more of a thing. And it's interesting. And I think coaches get a lot better from it. And we've interviewed so many guys where we're starting to see that more and more. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if you think that it helps you as a coach. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think, just like the players, we need to be well rested too. I mean, more not physically, but for our mental well-being, because it's a long season and it's a grind. I mean, now don't get me wrong. There are many nights this year that I'm in there till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Like multiple times this year, I'm in there that late. But it's because work needed to get done. Like certain days a week, you're just going to have a lot more work. That's how it is. But on the back end of the week, once you get closer to the game, then you can start getting out of the office at 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, when the game plan's done and it's time to now get your rest back for Saturday or for Sunday or whenever you're playing, right? And that was something that we, obviously Coach Nolan has done a great job with us. I mean, he says on our last practice of the week that Thursday or Friday practice before the day before we travel, like once we watch the film as a staff, get out of here. You guys are done. Like 1:30, 2 o'clock. You know, you have to go spend the day with your wife, your fiance, your kids, like whatever. Those, you know, which we need that. You need a little recharge before the game. And I think it helps a ton when you come back in, especially following the game the next day when it's that Sunday to start game plan or that Monday to start that game planning day. I mean, it's a long one. You better be ready to be recharged and ready to think for a long day. And it definitely helps because it ain't an easy job, you know. That everyone thinks, you know, football coaching is all about being on the field and with the headset on and calling plays and things like that. But by that time, the game's already won or lost for the most part. You know, I mean, there's adjustments you're going to make on game day that obviously could help win you games, but your game plan is your game plan, and you're not going to steer too far from your game plan when the bullets are flying, especially when it's crunch time, right? And you need to go to, you know, you need a play. You're going to go to a play you really trust and you really feel comfortable in for the most part. So it's going to be about your preparation throughout the week. And if you're not, you know, getting sleep and having some me time, you know, like you need some time for yourself as well throughout the week to kind of get yourself prepared. And if you're not having that, you're going to struggle.
There's no doubt about it. No, it's really, football is such an interesting sport and how it continues to evolve, and then it recycles things, and then it evolves, and then it recycles things, and it's really, really interesting stuff. I mean, you're listening to coach you're working for has been around for a long time, has been on a lot of NFL teams. You know, his career has spent, so he's seen it all. You know what I mean, from that standpoint. So it's really, really cool that you have that opportunity. I'm curious before I let you go, how about coaches wise? Do coaches in the UFL, are they guys, now the head coaches are a little different obviously because they're paid accordingly, but like assistants, are their goals more to be in college or to be NFL guys down the line? Like where do they, or they're kind of figuring out which one?
Depends on the guy, because there's a lot of coaches. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches in the league that have already been in the NFL for 15 years.
Got it.
Assistants, or like they've been at high college for a long time. This is kind of like their retirement gig, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because it's a great job. I mean, you only have to work from February to mid-June. You get paid your full salary in those 4 months. They pay for your housing when we're out there, right? They nice. They put you up, they feed you a ton. Like, so it's, if you want to stay in football, but you don't really want to do the full year grind, like this is a great league for if you can get into it, you know, for like,
they got equipment manager.
Yeah, they do.
Like, bro, I'll have that Michigan team looking right with our socks, bro. Like I got it. I'll put up goddamn moves all fucking day, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I love it. Yeah. Listen, I just love that aspect of it, right? And I think it's really cool. But what I do really love too, like for everybody that sees it, right? Because, you know, it is the whatever to the NFL, right? And just because they see it on TV, it's like, oh, well, these guys would like, for you to come on here and like, this is, most of these guys have been there and are trying, like, and this is how good they really are. And guys have no clue, right? Like, oh, I could do, like, no, dude, you don't understand. They are as professional as can be. And they are just like a situation away from either having been in the league or on their way to the league or didn't make it because of, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason, but it's still right there. This isn't like, and if you look at the coaches around the league too, right? Like, guys that have been at the highest level for years, like they wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't, you know what I mean? So 100%. I think that kind of justifies what it actually is. And Coach, I thank you a bunch, man. It's been awesome. Appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk to us. I know we had been getting after it for a couple months, man. You made a nice little run, so I was more than happy to kind of, hey, whenever you can, man, like you go do your thing and try and win a championship. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. It was awesome. I love talking ball. If you guys want to have me back, let me know.
Definitely will.
We might have to do we might have to do
Oh,
some
we might.
scheme
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, actually, you know what would be good if we got
might have to have him
Dunn,
oh
Klaus,
god.
Cravani, and Christian all at the same time.
I love
If
it.
we got the that
That'd
would
be
be
fun. That'd be a lot of stories. There would be a lot of stories on that one.
no
For
party
I don't know.
better than no party better than a Cravani house party.
That's right. That's right. That's
Bergen
awesome.
County.
That's
All right, man. I'll let you go. Have a great upcoming week and some of your time off, and we'll see you real soon, Coach.
Appreciate you.
Enjoy,
you
man.
guys.
We'll
Thanks for
talk
having
soon.
me.
All right. Have a great day.
You.
All right.
Bye. That was great. Oh my goodness.
I love some of that stuff. To me, that stuff's so cool, dude. I love that stuff. Like, I just think it's awesome that he, like, you know what I mean? Like the whole, I mean, look, his pass is really quick. I'll tell you that much, like really quick.
No, it's funny how he's talking about like the camp that Dunn run and like how he done. Like, obviously, I've stolen some of those ideas because they're they were such great ideas. And
you're like, talk about this. I got to do it like this. Oh, you mean for like the youth guys and stuff like that, like little kids? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what he used to do too, though? They used to do a mandatory, like when we did it at RBR, but they wouldn't allow us to charge. But the Old Japan allows you to charge,
like a middle school.
The kids that were coming in the ninth.
Yeah.
They used that. That was
that's like a mini camp.
It was like a mini camp for them, and
like an OTA, but it wasn't voluntary, buddy.
Yeah, but they still like the first part of the day was that. And then the second part of the day was like all the fun games, like kind of what we do, you know.
Yeah.
Yep, they used to have the games, and but yeah, it was like. Although I always say the greatest thing about it, they had the grass field because they had all the tree cover, so guys would go eat lunch over by the trees. You know what I'm saying?
Under shade, under cover.
Yep, and then or in a cafeteria or. Like, you know, and that part was always great. But anyway, that was a great podcast. It was as I was like,
now you gotta go call Dunn.
Oh yeah, wait till I tell. I'm gonna tell. Klaus will be all over it. There's no doubt. I'll tell him that.
Think about it. Like, so we've had now, like, we're getting heavy on the old Japan gig here.
I bet you could if you reach out to Cravani at Hopkins, I bet you'll be able to get him on. I just, depending on what his schedule is, but he's definitely. I think he was the guy who recruited Brock because I think Brock Dandridge. So, but there's no doubt he would come on. There's no doubt he would come on. Big personality, also, just like
these
Christian.
These guys, So Christian was a QB.
Yeah, great QB.
At Old Japan,
and he used to run hard. He was the guy ran.
So I was like his senior year was what year? That had to be like 08, 09.
He was in between the older Fuller. He was the QB between the older Fuller and the younger Fuller.
So there is no doubt
between them. He was in between.
There is, because I think Fuller's last year, like, I think he graduated in 2010.
10 or 11. 10 or 11. I can't remember. You probably could look it up in a little bit.
Because it was one of those, yeah.
And then he was the next guy, okay?
Right. And then it was his brother.
And then Devin came in after. Devin, so I think Devin, I'm sorry, not Devin, Jordan. Jordan played another position to start when Runza was. He might have been the running back. I can't remember. He might have been the running back, and Runza was the quarterback. But I think he came in some special situations too. But yeah, like he threw up for a bunch of touchdowns and like was hard runner.
Like 2010. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
all
you might be able to find it. Yeah, I don't know.
He was Bergen County All-Star Game MVP.
There you go. Yeah, no, I remember because because
Yeah, he was like
he was kind of like
2013-ish,
because he was
2014.
sandwiched between the two Fullers.
Oh
like
yeah,
people,
dude. He don't get his clout. He don't get his clout.
right. He was sandwiched between the two Fullers, but yeah,
That's so funny.
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
always
So,
talk about it being the smallest of worlds, dude. Like that's why you
yeah,
never burn bridges with anybody, man. Because like everybody's gonna cross paths, and everybody knows everybody, and everybody like across the whole thing. Like you look at a guy like that, like, hey, I just contact that wherever, and like look, he tried to do it on his own. 150 schools he set out shit too. Not one a couple people got back to him, whatever. How did he finally get he was hey, I call my old coach. He like says, hey, all right, here we go. Boom, off and running.
that's yeah, right. Because they're also usually in the know of what jobs are available too. So because
the jobs that not everybody, right? Like, or hey,
yeah,
look, these guys are really
my buddy
like
has
these
a
guys.
spot open. Because
Hey,
usually they reach
these
out
guys
to
can't
you
find
too.
anybody.
Right.
Hey,
Usually
do you
they're
know
like, hey, do
anybody?
you have anyone? Do you have anyone?
Right. Hey, yes. Hey, I'm looking for. Look, like Matt still does it with me. Like, hey, you know anybody that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Here you go. Do you know anybody? Because why? I've coached for them. I know what it takes to coach for them. Like, let's wade through all the whatever, all the this guy applied, that guy. Hey, who do you know so I can put him on the top of the list? Done.
No doubt about it. Really good stuff and interesting stuff. You might have to get Manny back to talk about the season.
Oh my God, dude. Well, they've been in Greece. He's in Greece. They're all
He's off. Now he's off
for the last 2 weeks. That's why Bedwell's like, yo, like, what am I doing? That's why he was like 2 weeks. I'm like, anybody that wants to talk air raid, I'll take it. My head coach, like, we got no more season. Whew, to Greece we go.
That's great. Wow. Awesome.
Wild. Awesome.
All right. Hey,
good stuff.
Yep. Very, very, very good. And I heard maybe another congratulations might be in order too for you.
Oh yeah. The
Good for
number
you.
2's on the way.
Good for you.
Wow. Don't give me that look, buddy.
No, it's good. Listen,
yeah, it's great.
We wish like that opportunity didn't end up being there because we started kind of aged out a little bit. But
hey, I'm right there, dude.
But yeah, I would have liked to. That's smart. You before it gets to you gotta So
yeah, before I need hip
like,
replacement and knee replacement and everything else under the sun, I figure might as well do it and hit the ground. No, I'm just throwing. I know I need the knee, but I don't know about the hip. I think I might be okay. But if I keep screwing around with not purring with the knee here, before you know it, I'll have 2 hips and God knows what else. But yeah, but I thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. It's we're ready to rock and roll, I guess. Okay.
The roller coaster, baby.
I thought it was like, it's just like picking up where it's gonna be 2. It's like really a fun experience. Hey, let's restart it, dude. Like, here we go. So we'll know. I don't know. No, but I want to find out. I will know.
You want to find out in this one? Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, we knew.
Oh, you knew last. Oh yeah,
you knew. Yeah, like we don't. Yeah, wife's always big on a big gender reveal. So but for me, like I care. Honestly, I think everybody's like, don't you want a boy? Don't you want, you have a girl? Do you want, dude, I don't care. Happy, healthy. We're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really all
that matters.
Happy, healthy. That's it, dude.
All right. Well, we'll see. When are we back next? I don't know.
I don't know. We got to see this week because maybe we're another one on this week because we have the camp and whatnot. So I'll look for Friday. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Schuman and I run a nice little youth camp. Extremely entertaining and eye-opening. It's
very entertaining. The camp is great. I just wish I guess I must not promote as well as I used to, but
hey, that's okay. I got 4 new plays to put in thanks to one of our infamous little campers today because he drew me up some four plays that need to be executed. So I think we'll experiment with that a little bit.
All right. I
love it.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Coach. See you in the morning, buddy.
All right. Bye.